The Christian faith is based on the dramatic but seemingly impossible proposition that Jesus of Nazareth rose from the dead. Christianity got going in the first place because the early Christians believed that he had been raised bodily, leaving an empty tomb behind him, and thereby launching God's whole new world. I think the early Christians were right. I'm not saying that just because I'm a bishop or even because I'm a Christian. In fact, one of the reasons I am a Christian is because as a historian of the ancient world, I've looked closely at the evidence for Christian origins, and it stands up pretty well. The question is, do you have the courage to follow the argument and see where it leads? Dare you agree with me? The stormy question of Jesus' resurrection takes us back to events which happened here in Jerusalem nearly 2,000 years ago. We're not making a leap of blind faith. This is a historical inquiry into the extraordinary happenings of the first Easter. All the stories agree that Jesus was alive, not dead. They involve physical things like bread and fish and the scars of the crucifixion. And at the same time, there's something strange about Jesus. He can appear and disappear at will, for example. These experiences were unprecedented. They convinced Jesus' followers that he really was the Messiah after all. What's more, they forced them to rethink their traditional Jewish beliefs as to what resurrection itself was all about. Resurrection wasn't just something that would happen to everybody at the end of time, it had happened to Jesus himself already in advance. The question of how resurrection would happen and what precisely it would mean were reshaped and refocused. This radical rethinking of traditional Jewish belief could only have happened as a result of something that they had experienced, something that had really occurred, something they certainly had not been expecting. Christianity didn't begin as a new religious experience. It began with the claim that something had happened, something which had changed the world, something that had happened to Jesus. And when we trace that claim, we find that it goes back to two things in particular. First, to the belief that the tomb really was empty. Second, to the belief that the disciples really had met Jesus alive again in a transformed body. How do we explain that? Lots of theories have been tried, most of them pretty thin and unconvincing. The one that fits the evidence like a glove, and that is the simplest of all, is that it's actually true, that Jesus really was raised from the dead.